Hey guys, so I am doing a new series here where I will speed read a book in one day, memorize the key points, and then tell you what I learned. The book that I'm going to speed read and memorize today is Darren Hardy's Compound Effect. Speed read the book in one day, memorize it, and show you what I learned. Here we go. Make some massive changes, can make you a millionaire, can make you fit. Boom, compound effect. Today, I'm going to read Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect today on this rainy day in Fort Worth, Texas. Boom! Alright guys, I'm having a little bit of a mental block. I just can't focus in here, so a strategy that I always try to implement when I can't focus is to get out of the house. Compound effect. So in this book, he talks about how making small choices every day. This right here is 120 calories. And it doesn't seem like much, but in this book, he talks about how small choices compound. This small choice of 120 calories. Saved 120 calories. So I just read 40 more pages, and I'm heading home now. One of my strategies is always, my brain, tends to get brain fog sometimes if I stick in one spot too long. So when I feel myself getting brain fog, my mind drifting, I get up and I head to the next spot. Okay, so this book, The Compound Effect, is where it's at. A simple overview of the book, it's all about doing small, immediate changes that you don't really notice as you're making the changes, but over time, boom, compounds, and can make some massive changes, can make you a millionaire, can make you fit, boom, compound effect. So chapter 1 of this book, he titles it The Compound Effect in Action. And he starts off by telling the story of his dad. His dad was a single dad. He was the original no excuses guy. I mean, he accepted no excuses. If you weren't getting the results you needed, his answer was to work smarter and work harder and be more disciplined. If Darren was having trouble dribbling a basketball, he'd tell him to tie one hand behind his back and dribble the basketball for hours on nonstop. Just do 1,000 more repetitions than everybody else. And it was always more repetitions, more work, outwork everybody. And Darren really takes pride in working hard and outworking people. And he says he gets a lot of his discipline from his dad and his no excuses mentality. And Darren has actually a math formula in chapter 1, and it's small, smart changes plus consistency, doing it all the time, plus time equals a radical difference. And it's all about the small changes over time. That's what the compound effect, it takes time. That's the thing. The compound effect takes time. He talks about in this book how we live in the instant gratification society. We just want it now. We want it right now. We want change right now. If we try something and we don't see change right away, most people just stop. He uses another example. Two hypothetical people. One guy decides to cut 125 calories out of his diet every day. Not much, no big deal. That could be a soft drink. 125 calories. The other guy decides to make no change. Well, so they start doing 125. This guy starts doing 125 calories less every day. At 10 months, there's no noticeable change between the two guys. And then he was like, in month 25, there's still not big changes. But by month 31, the changes are radical. If you just cut out 125 calories a day, after 31 months, that would be 117,500 calories. Cut that out every day, you'd lose 33.5 pounds. While on the other hand, this guy was doing 125 calories more, so over that same 31 months, he gained 33.5 pounds. They weighed 67 pounds in difference. And the only thing was a small change of 120 calories a day. 120 calories a day. But that's the compound effect. Small changes that we can do consistently every day over time will make radical difference. That's the formula. Write out all the things that are your excuses that are holding you back from making changes. Maybe you think you're not smart enough, or you're not tall enough, or you don't make enough money, or you don't come from the right family. Write out all your excuses and realize they're excuses. In chapter 2 of this book, he really brings it down to it's all about choices. It's about making the right choices. And he says the first choice you need to make is being 100% responsible. He made like an aha statement in the book for me, and the aha statement was, everybody is a self-made man or a self-made woman, but only the successful take credit for it. He said if that's all you do, you just take 100% responsibility and stop blaming situations and circumstances and people for your position in life, you'll be a lot better. A lot of people will blame their boss. Oh, if I just had a better boss, I could grow, he'd give me the right opportunities or whatever. Or if my family was different, or if I was just born in a different place, or if I had more money, or if that person over there, he just got lucky, he's just lucky, I could do what he did if I had the same opportunities, but I just don't have the same opportunities, he's lucky. That is a negative, terrible, terrible attitude. Then he talks about Richard Branson. He says, oh, Richard, are you lucky? And he said, of course I'm lucky. We're all lucky to be alive, to be living in a free society, to have access to all this technology. He says, but the difference is when an opportunity came along, I took advantage of it. You know, it's about creating your own luck or taking advantage of luck. Darren actually has a formula in this book for luck. And Darren's formula for luck is preparation plus attitude plus opportunity plus action equals luck. So he says that preparation is personal growth. Attitude is your behaviors and your habits. Opportunity is that something good comes along. And action, doing something about it. That equals luck. If you can't measure it, then you can't improve it. And this is, you take a journal and you write in it. If saving money is your goal, so every time he spent $1 anywhere, he wrote it. And Darren suggested you do this, whether it is money or if it's calories, weight you want to do, write it in your journal, write it in your book. And then he said, do this for at least 21 days because it becomes 21 days to become a habit, and that's why you'll get in the habit of doing it. But he said something magical is going to happen. Around week 2, you're going to be at the store and you're going to be like, do I really want to buy that candy bar? Because if I eat that candy bar, then I got to get out my journal and I got to write 150 calories to a candy bar. Do I really want to do that? So your behaviors will actually start changing as you're writing it down. And you may be shocked at where all your money's going. He had an assistant that worked for him, Kathleen. And Kathleen came to him. She was making about $40,000 a year. And she came to him and she said, Darren, I need a raise. I can't pay my bills. And he said, okay, I'm okay with a raise, but I want to teach you some skills. First of all, let's just try to cut your expenses by 1%. 1% this month. $33. Let's try to find $33 somewhere. So they found $33 and they saved it. Then the next month, cut your expenses by 2%. Now you're up to $67. The next month, cut your expenses by 3%. So now you're at $100 and something or around $100. And what she realized is, you know what, I really don't need that subscription to People magazine, or do I really need that coffee today or whatever? She cut her expenses, she started journaling her money, and then when she started doing that, she's like, Darren, I think we can do this in our company. I'm going to start journaling every time we spend money as a company. And she started journaling everywhere that they spent money in the company. and her base salary was $40,000, but Darren gave her if she figured out ways to save money in the company, he would give her a percentage of that as a bonus. So by the end of the year or whatever, she was saving the company $100,000, and so she was getting a percentage of that, or over $100,000. So her income eventually was $100,000 working for Darren, and it was because she got so good at cutting her expenses, she started cutting Darren's expenses. She ended up leaving, going to work for herself, and she's a millionaire now. And it all started with little habits. And okay, so now in this chapter, it's all about habits, and he talks about there's this older guy, and he's like, hey kid, his son or whatever, pull up that little bitty tree, and it's just a little bitty, sprout out of the ground, pulls it up. He goes, now pull out that one. He pulls it up. There's a little bit bigger one, pull it up. There's a little bit bigger one, pull that up. Okay, there's a bigger one over there, pull that up. And the kid goes over there and he's like, oh man, I can't get this out. It's like almost a full-grown tree now. He's like, the reason you can't get that out is because it has roots now. It's gone down into the ground. It's taken hold. And he said that's how our habits are. When they first start, they're easy to pluck out and change. But when they really get a hold of you, and when they really get a hold of your life, they get in there like that tree, and they're hard to change. Then he talks about, look, if you took a bite of that Big Mac and instantly had a heart attack and died, you wouldn't have the Big Mac. But because the change happens over a slow period of time, you eat the Big Mac and don't think anything about it. Or if you think, oh, hey, I'm not going to make that sales call today, if instantly when you made that decision you went bankrupt and lost all your house and all your possessions, you wouldn't do it. But it's because the habits are slow. Habits can be good, or they can be slow and destructive. Eating the Big Mac will kill you. It just won't kill you right then. If stuff killed us right then or made us broke right then, our habits would be different. And then he talks about, look, you've tried to change before and you haven't been able to do it. So he's saying the reason is you've got to get smart here. You've got to figure out what your why is. What is your why? Why are you doing it? Why are you wanting to lose weight? Why are you wanting to make money? What is the why? What's your motivation to do this? And he uses the analogy. He said if there was a piece of wood on the ground and I asked you to walk over it for $30, you'd be like, yeah, I'll walk over it for $30. Now you take that same piece of wood and you stretch it out between two high rises. Will you walk across it? No, you won't. But if on the other side of that board was your baby, your child, and that other building was burning down and your child was going to die, you would get on that board and you would walk across and you wouldn't even think about it. Why? It's because your why was so big. You were saving your baby's life. He's like, you got to find out what that why is in your life, that it's so big you would just go out there and do it. And he talks about this, and he gives you some hints on this. He says, look, your why cannot be, most of the time, it can't be materialistic. He said it's okay to say, hey, I want to buy this car or this house or whatever, but he said sometimes materialistic, they don't get our emotions. They don't really grab a hold of us. Maybe it's something bigger than that. Maybe it's, a cause that you want to help out, or just something that's going to grab your heart, people or causes or things you want to do, change you want to see in the world. Those kind of things can be powerful whys. Sometimes the thing of, hey, I want to buy that house over there, it can sometimes lose our motivation, according to Darren. He says you need to embrace the enemy, find your enemy. He's like, David has Goliath, Rush Limbaugh has the liberals. When you have something you're fighting against, it can make you more powerful. And he's like, find out what you're fighting against and fight against it and harness that. He's like, and if you're not making any progress, it's probably because you don't have good goals. And he said this is what goals do. And he talks about the law of attraction in here, and I'm really glad. I really like how he addressed the law of attraction in here. Matter of fact, I loved how he addressed the law of attraction. He said the law of attraction is really what it all boils down to is this. He says when you set a goal, it's not that the universe sends all this stuff to you. It's that your eyes just start noticing what's around you. I totally believe that. I think that's totally it. The example he gives is perfect. He says you start thinking, oh, I'm going to buy a new car. But here's an idea. I want to buy a Jeep Wrangler. So I've been thinking about that recently. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing Jeep Wranglers all the time. Does the universe sending Jeep Wranglers to start driving around me all of a sudden? No, they were always there. I just didn't notice it as much because my eye wasn't focused on it. So what goals do can help you focus your mind on a task. And he's like, look, if you're telling people that you're a dedicated business professional, but your habits aren't saying that, then you need to do a reality check. In other words, yeah, I'm a dedicated professional, but you show up late all the time. That's your habit kind of giving you away. He talks about he talks about something that it's the only thing in this book I disagreed with, but I see his point. He says make yourself accountable by posting your goals out there on social media or whatever. There's actually been research done that if you post your goals out on social media, you're going to get the instant gratification of the congratulations everybody's going to give you, and that makes you less likely to achieve your goal. Darren takes the angle that people will hold you accountable to it, so you'll have to do it. Perhaps, and that's really the only area that I was kind of I don't know. I mean, I've heard different, but I do get it. I'm doing this 60 books in 60 days challenge. I posted it on Facebook. Hey, I'm doing 60 books in 60 days. I'm on book 4 right now, and I got to be honest with you, this is tough. I may have given up if I had not posted it on social media. So maybe there is something there to it. But he talks about camaraderie, the camaraderie that comes with accountability and setting yourself up for success. And he said it's hard. Change is hard. But in this book, he says, I'm glad it's hard because if it's hard, everybody would do it. And the way I can set myself apart from everybody else is this is hard and I'm going to do it. And I'm glad it's hard. First of all, momentum. He talks about, how Apple, when it came out with the iPod, it wasn't an overnight success. Matter of fact, revenues declined 33%. The next year, they improved 2%. Then they improved 18%. Then the next year, they improved 33%. And then finally, 5 years later, they improved 67%. But it was all about momentum, and momentum doesn't happen right away. And he's like, you got to get aware of that. Darren really makes a good idea here. He's like, look, you can't set up your day for a perfect routine, and it always happens that way. He said, what you got to do is you got to bookend your days. Have a routine in the morning and then have a routine at night, and then try to do your best during the day. And Darren's routine is off the charts. I mean, he sets his alarm clock. His alarm goes off. He hits snooze. He knows once he hits snooze, he has 8 minutes, and he goes through this process during that 8 minutes of sending mental love out to people, and then he gets up, and he has everything down from his shower to brushing his teeth to sitting in a book and reading. When he sits in a book, he sets the timer for 30 minutes to read. He's got his routine down so hardcore in the mornings. He's got a similar routine at night. He bookends his days. That doesn't change. And then during the day, it's always, you can't always control everything during the day. He even has a routine for his weekends. His Friday nights are date night. His Saturdays are family time. And his at the end of every Sunday night at 6 p.m., him and his wife Georgia, who have also met, they have a relationship review summary at the end of the week. So he's hardcore into discipline and review, even with his marriage. Analogy: if an airplane takes off and flies across the country, it takes off in New York and flies to California, it'll get there a lot quicker and using a lot less fuel than the plane who takes off in New York and lands in Pennsylvania. Takes off in Pennsylvania and lands in Ohio, starting and stopping the whole way to California. It's going to take you a lot longer, but it's also going to use a lot more energy, a lot more fuel. It's going to be a lot more costly. Slow consistency is cheaper, and you actually get there quicker. And Darren kind of wraps up the book with talking about your influences. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Jim Rohn was a mentor of his, and he said that Jim used to say that your income will be the average of your 5 closest friends, of their income. So you're going to become like your 5 closest friends. Who are your influences? And he really said take stock of who you're hanging out with and spending time with, because because your income will be the average of those 5 people. And it might not just be about income, your health will be the average of those 5 people. And Darren also says he doesn't watch the news. He says because it doesn't have any real bearing on effect on his life. But he said what he does is he sets up an RSS feed. I mean, Darren's hardcore about this. So there are things in the news that would affect his life and he is interested in. He'll set up an RSS feed and that gets sent to his inbox. So he gets the news that he's interested in, but he doesn't get all of this other junk. And he uses the analogy that, you know, when you're driving down the road and you're in this traffic jam and you get to the front and you realize, you know what, there's not a wreck here. The wreck's on the other side of the road, but this traffic jam is because people are slowing down looking at it. And he said people are just that way. They have to stop and they have to look at the tragedies and the terrible stuff in life. And advertisers and the media take advantage of that. And so he says it's so much negative news out there. And Darren just said that he just steps away from it because it can get so bogged down. He said even though he doesn't want to look, when he gets up to that car, he will find himself doing it too because as humans we're wired that way. So he just keeps it out of his mind, and he concerns himself with his influence of people and his influence of stuff like the news and stuff like that. So this was a great book. I know Darren. Darren is a friend of mine. Darren and I have spoken at the same events together. And he wrote a good book, The Compound Effect. If I could sum it up in just a real short thing, is small changes, small smart changes, plus consistency, plus time will equal radical change. Booyah, baby!